That's a great question. It's probably the most common question I get when we meet with new clients after being in business for 15 years, and doing, $2.5 billion of transactions all over the country, meeting with 200 dealer clients around the country over the years. We still get asked by potential clients, why should we hire you? And sometimes we think they ask us just to ask us, and sometimes we think they really mean it. Although we have lots of transactions and lots of references, we still kind of get, why should we hire you to help us sell our store? We get a call a week or a call a month, have for 15 or 20 years. And I think the most common answer I've kind of come to over the years is, even doctors typically will use another doctor who's a specialist in their field. So if you've got, God forbid, cancer, you're probably not going to want your podiatrist to give attention to your cancer. You probably want to find an oncologist. And the same thing with people who are trying to save money on healthcare. They find out that it's a false economy to operate on themselves. For not a lot of money, someone could have saved their life. In our business, people come to the point in their careers where they understand what they know and they understand what they don't know. And I always kind of say to people, instead of me telling you why you should hire us or why you shouldn't hire us or what you should do, when it comes to making a decision about getting some help, doing something with your company, whether it's buying or whether it's selling, why don't you ask the people that we've worked for? That's usually the best testament is, ask someone that we've already worked for, bought a store for, we've done a transaction for. They're usually the best people to tell other dealers, what reason would we hire these people? Unfortunately, dealers don't want any other dealers to know what they're doing. So they don't like to pick the phone up and say, hey, I'm thinking about selling, and I read that you use Mark Johnson's company. What do you think about Mark Johnson or MD Johnson Inc.? Sometimes the dealer will do that, but more often than not, they won't. So the fallback position is no buyer will ever come into your business and try to train you or show you how to charge them the most amount of money. And as a seller's representative and as a buyer's representative, we're really experts in executing those transactions, either on the sell side, getting a premium for the client store, and on a buy side, making sure our buy side client gets the most advantageous price. 50% of our work is buying stores, 50% of it selling stores. And other than basic economics, the reason that we do half buy side and half sell side, other than client request, is you can't be really good at selling a dealership if you're not really good at buying one. You have to understand everything a seller thinks about, every motivation that they have, what their expectations are for you to be a good seller's representative. You don't know that unless in your practice you represent buyers. And the same thing, you can't be a good buyer's representative if you don't understand the psychology of a seller, what sellers need, what they have to have, how to listen to their needs and develop a plan to execute and understand and take care of those needs. So, the question, why should we hire you? Perfect example is now a close friend of mine and a colleague of mine and someone who I've done quite a bit of work for and have a tremendous amount of respect for, which is Bruce Cavalli. The Cavalli family is an iconic family. Own dealerships in Florida. They own dealerships in California. They just purchased a dealership from us in Midland, Texas. So Bruce and I purchased, I working for Bruce purchased Audi of Coral Springs, which is the second or third largest Audi dealership in the United States. We bought it from a great guy, Dave Mirage. There were 35 other dealers trying to buy that dealership from Dave Mirage, and 75% of them, of which had unlimited funds to buy anything that they wanted. But Bruce and I did what we're supposed to do and listened to the buyer, met with him, talked about what his needs were, how quickly, how slowly he wanted us to work with him, and out from under 35 other buyers and 10 institutional buyers and all the public companies, Bruce Cavalli now owns Audi of Coral Springs. Another perfect example is Mercedes-Benz of Palm Beach. Mercedes of Palm Beach is one of the first Mercedes dealerships in the United States. It was operated by the Baston family for decades. And my client is Michael Cantanucci, who owns New Country Motor Car Group. And the seller of that dealership in Palm Beach, in a very exclusive market, in a very exclusive store, probably had over 100 dealers call him in the 30 or so years that he owned it, and had public company CEOs in his office talking to him about buying his store. So my client, Michael, who's an extremely bright gentleman who I've worked with for a number of years, he and I, over a period of 5 years, developed a relationship with the seller. We developed a relationship with the seller's son. We employed the seller's son, listened to the seller, what his needs were over a period of about a year and a half. And at the end of, this 5 years worth of working with this guy, he selected Michael to sell a store, his dealership, to out of 100 dealers who would have all paid and all tried to buy that dealership. And so when someone says, why should we hire you, either to buy something for us or sell something for us, when you work with 200 or 300 dealers and you work on transactions that are at the level that we've worked on, you learn what sellers and buyers are really tuned into. You learn what their needs are, and your experience brings that premium for the seller, and it brings that credibility to your buyer when they know what your track record is. And our track record is that in the 15 years this company has existed, not a single buy-sell that we've put together has ever failed to close. And that's not by happenstance, it's not luck. It's just a lot of work and understanding our business very, very well, and not committing to things we're not willing to follow through on. And I would say that's probably the number one reason that we'd recommend people seek out and at least talk to us before they make a decision about selling or buying a store.